Okay, so let's be real for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to waste their vacation baking in the Barcelona sun, waiting in some crazy line, right?
Right.
Especially not when you're trying to get into like a total masterpiece like, Park Güell.
Yeah.
So today we're going deep on, well, Park Güell. We're using visitor reviews, we got advice from experts, even stuff from the Park Güell website itself.
Oh, wow.
All to make sure, your trip is like the dream trip.
That's great.
So, Park Güell.
Yeah.
Not your typical park, right?
No, not really. It's interesting, actually. It wasn't even supposed to be a public park in the first place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was going to be like a fancy housing development.
Huh.
This guy, Guell, he was like a rich entrepreneur dude, and he was like super into Antoni Gaudí.
Oh, yeah, Gaudí.
Yeah, he loved Gaudí's whole like unique architectural thing he had going on.
Yeah, so a housing development.
Uh-huh.
That's not what I picture when I think of Park Güell.
Right.
Like all the mosaics, like, the crazy structures.
Exactly, yeah. It was a big project, like ambitious,
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of flopped in the end.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they only built 3 houses. The whole estate, they just gave it to Barcelona.
Wow.
So, it's like this weird twist, and that's how we got the park.
Oh, that's interesting. So that's the backstory. But like, if I'm planning a trip to Park Güell, like right now, what's like the #1 thing I got to know?
Okay, so this is in like every single visitor review. Book your tickets in advance. Like seriously.
Oh, wow.
You do not want to get there and see a sold out sign, especially, during the busy season.
Well, especially after you made the trip up there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, well, a climb, right? To get up there.
Oh, for sure. It's a hike. And that's why it's so important to remember Park Güell. Like, it's not your average city park.
No.
It sprawls. It's huge, like 12 hectares.
Wow.
On a hillside, which means lots of, slopes and stairs. Not a ton of shade.
Right.
You got to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Like physically and logistically if you want to have a good time,
Totally. So how do I prepare logistically? Like, break it down for me.
Okay, so first things first, you got to think about timed entry.
Timed entry, yeah.
Yeah, so Park Güell, you buy tickets for a specific time slot. There's a 30-minute grace period, but they do this to manage the crowds, make sure everyone's moving smoothly.
Right, that makes sense. A lot of places are doing that now.
Yeah.
It does kind of take the stress out of planning a little bit.
Exactly. And speaking of planning, always book your tickets through the official Park Güell website. Always.
Okay.
It's the only way to know you're not getting scammed.
Right.
Or, like crazy prices.
Gotcha. Okay. Book in advance, official website, 2 golden rules.
Yes.
Right. But what about tours, like guided tours?
Mm-hmm.
Are those worth it?
This is where it gets interesting. So guided tours, yeah, they can definitely make your experience better, especially if you're like really into Gaudí, and all the symbolism and the stories behind his stuff.
Right.
Canal's a good guide. They'll point out things you might miss on your own. And they give you all that extra context.
Like what kind of context? Give me an example.
Okay, so for instance, there's the hypostyle room.
Okay.
It's one of the most like striking parts of the park. It's got 86 Doric columns, like a forest.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right. But a lot of people don't realize those columns, they're not just pretty, they're like super functional.
Oh.
Gaudí designed them to collect rainwater.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then it gets filtered and stored in the cistern below, and that was supposed to be the water source for the houses,
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that I would totally miss if I was, just walking around.
Probably. Yeah.
But like, I kind of like to explore at my own pace. Like take detours, see what I find.
Yeah, I get that.
Is there a way to like combine that with a guided tour?
Totally. There are options for that. Like you could book a tour that has like a skip the line thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you get the expert, you avoid the line, but then after the tour,
Yeah.
you're free to do whatever.
Oh, that's a great solution. Like the best of both worlds.
Right. And if you want a really smooth experience, check out Get Your Guide.
Get your guide. Okay.
Yeah, they've got tons of Park Güell tours, and they all have skip the line access, no hassle.
That's awesome. I bet a lot of our listeners would love that.
Right.
I'll put a link in the show notes, so you can check out the different tours. But
Mhm.
before we like get too far ahead of ourselves,
Yeah.
how do we even get to Park Güell?
Right.
It's not exactly, in downtown Barcelona, is it?
You're telling me. No, it's tucked away up on a hillside, Gracia district.
Okay.
Adds to the charm, I guess, but makes it kind of tricky to get to.
Yeah, I was reading some reviews and they're saying the trip itself could be a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, especially if you walk.
Yeah, you're going to be walking uphill for
Yeah.
sure. So, got to keep that in mind.
Right.
especially with kids, older folks, anyone who, has trouble getting around.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe like a taxi is the best option then, even if it costs a bit more.
Oh, definitely. And if you're thinking about public transport, there are a couple things.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so first, Park Güell, it's got like multiple entrances.
Right.
So if you just tell the taxi Park Güell, they might drop you off at one that's like way far from the main stuff.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So how do I make sure I get to the right spot?
Just be specific, tell them the address.
Okay.
Main entrance, it's Carretera del Carmel 23. That's in Barcelona, obviously.
Right.
That way you're closer to, the monumental zone.
Okay.
That's where most of the, the famous Gaudí stuff is.
Right. Good tip.
Mm.
It's always the little things, that can mess up a trip.
Totally. Now, if you're taking the metro, the closest stops are Valcarca or Lesseps. Depends on which line you're on. But either way, you're still going to be walking uphill to get to the park.
So there's no escaping the uphill, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh.
But hey, it's all part of the experience, right? You're earning those views. And the views from up there, oh man, like some of the best views in all of Barcelona.
Speaking of views, I think I read somewhere that you don't even have to pay to get into the monumental zone to get the best views. Is that true?
That's right. The monumental zone, it's got some great spots for sure.
Right.
Like that famous wavy bench, with all the colorful tiles. But the free areas, some of them have even better views.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
Where are these free view spots?
One that people love is Turó de les Tres Cruces.
Okay.
It means like Hill of the Three Crosses. It's the highest point in the park. And the views, forget about it. You can see the whole city, the sea, even the mountains if it's a clear day.
Wow, that's amazing. So even if you're, on a budget, you can still experience Park Güell. Like, get those amazing views.
Yeah.
All without paying anything.
Exactly. And the free areas, they're way less crowded too.
That's a good tip, because we've been talking about how crowded it gets, even with the timed entry and everything.
Yeah.
But, crowds, that's just part of it when you're going to a place like this. So any advice on how to handle the crowds and, still enjoy myself?
Honestly, don't fight it. Just go with the flow.
Okay.
It's way easier. And you'll have more fun.
So just like, embrace the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, even in the busiest spots, there are still quiet little areas tucked away.
Okay.
Maybe take a less crowded path or find a little grotto or just a bench where you can, take it all in.
It's easy to forget to just like be in the moment,
Yeah, for sure. You get caught up in checking things off your list. But speaking of being in the moment, let's talk about the mosaics. They're not just decorations. They're like pure Gaudí artistry, and they show his like connection to nature.
Yeah, it's so cool that he used all these broken tiles and stuff, like trash turned into art.
Right, and he was super deliberate about everything, the materials, the colors.
Yeah.
Like he was inspired by nature a lot. The salamander, El Drac.
Oh, yeah.
It's got like green, blue, orange tiles, just like a lizard you'd see, out in the wild.
Yeah, that's what makes it so special, like knowing what he was thinking, what it all means.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just the mosaics, the architecture too. Have you ever heard of the laundry room portico?
Laundry room portico? I don't think so. Tell me about it.
Okay, so it's this gallery with like all these sloping columns, and they're all different, every one. And it's called that because one of the columns, it's kind of got this bulge, and it looks like a woman carrying a laundry basket.
That's amazing. He saw inspiration everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps things interesting, right?
Totally. So we've covered a lot, tips, hidden spots, even a bit of Gaudí's like philosophy.
Yeah.
What are you thinking so far?
Yeah, what do you think?
Can you picture yourself walking through those paths, taking in the views? Maybe you see that laundry column.
Yeah, let us know what you're thinking.
You can pause here, write down some questions, leave us a comment.
And we'll be back soon with the last part of this deep dive. We'll wrap everything up and give you all the info you need to plan your, perfect Park Güell trip.
Okay, so we're back. We've talked about the history, how to get there, even some, secret spots.
Right.
But now, let's get strategic. How do we make the most of our time at Park Güell?
Yeah, a little planning can make a big difference, especially somewhere this popular,
Totally. So, like step one, what do we do first?
First, I think, is deciding tour or no tour, guided or independent.
Right.
Both are good. It just depends what kind of traveler you are.
Okay, let's break that down. Like pros and cons, what are we thinking?
Okay, so a guided tour, especially one with like skip the line, that's a great way to, save time, no waiting around. You get that expert knowledge. You learn all the cool details, the stories, get your questions answered.
Like a Gaudí cheat sheet, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. But you're on their schedule then.
Right, which, not for everyone.
Exactly. So if you want freedom, that's where independent exploring comes in.
Yeah.
Go at your own pace, hang out where you want, maybe find some spots the tours don't even go to.
But then you might miss out on, like, the insider stuff.
That's true. But you can still prepare,
Oh.
Even if you're going solo, get a good guidebook, maybe an audio guide, even just, like, read some articles online before you go.
So you can still get that context, even if you're not on a tour.
Exactly. But no matter what, book online, in advance, through the Park Güell website.
Right. The official one.
Yeah. That's the only way to know you're getting in, especially during busy times.
Yeah, we don't want any vacation disasters.
Nope. Okay, so we've picked our style, we got our tickets. What's next?
Logistics.
Getting there. Right. We talked about the options, but just remember, Park Güell, on a hill.
Uphill battle, literally.
It's the theme of the day, so plan for that.
Right.
Especially with kids, or if you have trouble walking. Good shoes, pack some snacks, water.
Oh, yeah, good point. Because there's not a lot of places to buy stuff once you're inside.
Not really. And timing, think about what time of day you're going.
Oh, right.
Early morning, late afternoon, usually less crowded.
But like we said, there's going to be crowds no matter what.
Yeah, it's Park Güell, so just go with it.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. And if you need a break, remember those quiet spots.
Yeah.
Take a little detour, find a bench, just enjoy it.
And don't forget your camera.
Okay.
I mean, Park Güell is like Instagram heaven, right?
Get those pics, but also put the camera down sometimes. Actually look at it with your own eyes.
That's true. Sometimes the best memories aren't the ones you post online.
Exactly. So big picture, what should someone planning a Park Güell trip remember? Be open-minded, be ready for an adventure, and just, appreciate Gaudí's vision.
Yeah.
This isn't just another park. It's like stepping into his imagination. The art, the architecture, it's incredible.
Totally. It's a masterpiece for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So with a bit of planning, and the tips we've talked about today,
Yeah.
your trip to Park Güell, it's going to be epic.
So what about you? When are you going? Guided tour or exploring on your own? Let us know in the comments.
And don't forget the show notes have that link to get your guide. You can check out those skip the line tours.
Happy travels.
Happy travels.
Gross.